Hello and welcome to the channel. This is a very new hobby that I recently started and I want to talk about it. In my other channel I mostly do phone games and such, but I recently picked up this new hobby, Hot Wheels, and I want to talk about it most because I like it. I also like talking, but I'm alone in the city, grad student, way too much free time and no friends, and I thought, what's better than to start with one of my favorite shows in card form. This is the Deco delivery by Hot Wheels, obviously, and as you can see, you have Mr. Spock. This is for pretty sure the 50th anniversary of Star Trek, the original series. So we see on one side, so this card itself is definitely some kind of red, I would say maroon, but it's kind of like a metal flake color. It's very nice looking, it's very pretty, and it's one of the premium models, meaning first of all the top and the bottom are both metal. So in like regular Hot Wheels you get for like $1 in Walmart or Target, it's either the top is metal or the bottom is metal and the other part is plastic. For these premium models, most of the whole thing is metal, which is really nice. Deco delivery, and obviously you see here Mr. Spock himself, and yeah, it's really nicely painted. I don't expect a lot from Hot Wheels for something on this scale, and usually for pretty cheap. It's really nicely done, and over here we see the USS Enterprise, the original one, the Constitution class, or as Scotty says, Enterprise, no bloody A, B, C, or D. That's what he said on TNG. So that wasn't the E yet, and definitely not the J or whatever we see in Enterprise. I've argued with someone on YouTube comments, but the Enterprise, the 1701, you see it in the original TV show, in the first two Star Trek movies, and it gets blown up in the beginning of Star Trek 3: A Search for Spock. I know the one in the motion picture is a refit, but it's still technically called Enterprise, not USS, NCC 1701, because it's still the same ship even after it's being refitted. The one we see in the ending of Star Trek 4, A Voyage Home, that's the 1701A, because it's a completely different ship. It's completely new. It's newly built. But anyway, we see Mr. Spock. We see the Enterprise. We also see this weird thing with 3 hexagons. I don't know what it is. Hot Wheels wiki just says it's just 3 interlocking hexagons that I can't find any significance of in the Star Trek universe. So this is the front, very nicely detailed. The top, this is interesting. This gold bit just makes me want to like push it or something. It looks like it's a switch, but obviously it's not. But it's still some nice detail, some nice greebling. At the back, we see the same thing again. CBS Studios. That's obviously where Star Trek comes from. On the other side, it's similar styling. I don't know what these balls are that's behind Enterprise. Is there a TOS episode they discover balls or space balls as big as the Enterprise? I don't know. I don't think so. And the difference with Mr. Spock here is on the other side, he's not doing anything. You only see his face and this part of his uniform, but here he's doing the Vulcan salute. People know it as the live long and prosper, but it's not the one you open with. It's what is it? Long peace and long life, and then you reply live long and prosper. But for some reason people only remember live long and prosper. But anyway, for these premium models, the thing is they have real riders, which basically just means rubber wheels, and this is no exception. I don't know. Yeah, you can pick it up from the camera. This one actually has some texture on the rubber, which is not always the case. As you can see, made in Thailand, Deco delivery. So this is what people call a fantasy casting, which, it doesn't look that fantasy. It's just a van. But fantasy casting basically means it's not based on a car that really exists. So which is, I don't know, not the biggest fan of the nomenclature. If I think fantasy, I think of like goblins and ghouls and elves and urukai, which Hot Wheels does make that kind of stuff. Then they're also called fantasy casting. But even a car that looks like it could be realistic, but is not based on a real car, is also called fantasy. I mean, just clean it up a little bit. And I think it's a really nice looking van. It's quite heavy. It rolls very well, but if you don't know, these cars are not designed for track, so it's not going to be as good as some of the other ones with plastic wheels. So I have these two other vans that I own just for like a size comparison. This is the Aeropod from 2020 X Racers, I think, and this is the character car for Olaf from Frozen and Frozen 2. Just size comparison. So both these two cars are slightly taller than the Deco delivery. Deco delivery is ever so slightly longer than the Aeropod. So the front are now in line, but the back is protruding a little bit because of the back here is kind of going out, and obviously it's a lot longer than Olaf. So this is the car I want to start with because it's Star Trek, and I'm a huge Star Trek fan. I honestly only started watching like a few years ago when I was in undergrad. Born and raised in China, it's just Star Trek wasn't something that was popular, or I mean, it's just something that's not even known really, and even in America, which I'm right now, it's not really that relevant in pop culture. But Hot Wheels has done some Star Trek stuff. There's a set that this thing comes from. This Deco delivery comes from with Captain James T. Kirk, with Scott, Scotty. I think obviously you get Bones, and I think you also get Chekhov. And there's another set with like a more cartoon style, but it's not based on the animated series, but it's more of a cartoon styling. Oh, and by the way, Deco Delivery fits this kind of pop culture series really well because it's long, because it's got very big sides. There's a lot of space for this kind of stuff. And let's see what else. Oh, there's a Buick with Leonard Nimoy figurine. Leonard Nimoy obviously in his Spock costume, standing next to it in the famous black and white photo. Very cool. But that one is selling on eBay for like $50-$60 without shipping. They also did two Star Trek ships, the USS Enterprise and the USS Vengeance, but those are from the new J.J. Abrams movie, which I haven't seen yet, but it doesn't look like something I wouldn't. I mean, I'm sure they're fine as action movies, but I don't watch Star Trek as action per se. I really wish they can have something from the Next Generation, and if we can get the Enterprise D, which I consider like the best Star Trek ship, one of the best starship designs ever, man, I will be so happy. But Star Trek is unfortunately not that relevant, not as relevant as say Star Wars, culturally at least. So I doubt we'll be seeing that, but yeah, I think there's everything to it. Oh yeah, there's actually I remember there's a ship, I think maybe this big, from the motion picture. So that's the USS Enterprise Constitution class refit. It's in like a convention thing or whatever, so it's very expensive, obviously. This one I picked up from eBay for I think $5 plus a couple bucks shipping, which is not bad for something that's not current. I think this was released a few years back. I'm avoiding the year because I forgot to look it up beforehand, but it's gonna be in the title, so you can see what this video is called. You can get when this was released. But I love this very much. It's Star Trek obviously, but this is a very nice car. It's well designed. I'm gonna dim it a little because the metal flick is reflecting way too much. It's a nice car. It's one of the premium models, even though it's not real. It's all metal it's all die cast metal, and it's got real riders with the rubber wheels. It's a nice thing, even though I don't know what these balls or in front of the Enterprise are. It's still really good looking, and I definitely love it in my collection. So next up, I'm gonna do some of the real cars, some of the other fantasy models that are not premium, some of the character cars. I'll just see where it takes me. If you're watching this is my first video, and I doubt many people will be watching this, but if you're watching this, thank you, and I'll be back.